Hi, this is Ash from Crack Minis. Today I'm going to be making a tank. Because I've been laid up for a little while, I had some time to myself and did some doodles, and I came up with this idea. Now, the idea I come up with was a tank that's also a junkyard. First step I wanted to decide on the tracks first. They're usually the easiest part to build. So I got the size and the shape I wanted. I traced that cut out on some foam core, and I cut those out as a base for my tracks. Because this build is so heavily inspired by construction equipment, I needed a lot of exposed wheels to help guide the tracks, and to do that I decided to use some buttons. Now, to get these buttons ready for gluing down, I needed to sand them. I will suggest you wear a mask for this part if you're going to be doing it yourself, because some of these old buttons, you don't know what they're made of. Also, breathing in any type of dust for too long, not good for you. I found 6 buttons, all exactly the same, so I used those for my corner points. Although most of the things I build are asymmetrical, a bit of symmetry sometimes helps keep the build cohesive, up until a point where obviously you want to add some flavour. Here's an attempt at some stop motion, although my lighting went a bit skew with at the end. After I did all them wheelie bits, I had these big gaps in the middle. I needed to put something in. Was that a firework? Oh well. Anyway, I ended up with these big gaps in there, and I needed to fill them with something. So I put in some cutting off Lego barrels. That still left me with some gaps, so I put in these horsey bases. Sorry, these rectangular bases that are used for horses. You didn't hear me say the word horsey. Don't repeat it. Okay. After I decided that was pretty much all I was going to be doing to the tracks before putting the actual tracks on, I pulled out my rhinestone collection. This is an assortment of gems, jewels and beads that I glued on to cover the holes. And because I didn't want to go over it twice, I did some riveting on the big wheels. All that was left to do on the tracks was get out some EVA foam, cut it slightly larger than the width of the track to make sure you get a little bit of overlap. You can trim it down with some scissors after the fact. Glue that the whole way around, and then cut yourself out some little squares to the same length. Width. Yeah, width. Not length. You can cut it to the same length as well, but it doesn't really matter because you're going to be cutting it into squares and then gluing it on all the way around. I did 2 layers. It gave it a much better look than I expected. I mean, it makes it a bit more mechanical, because sometimes with the EVA foam, because it's so soft, it bends and conforms to shapes that just aren't quite natural looking. But I just love using it. I really do. Now it's time to work on the hull. Alright, so the main body of the actual tank. Now, I wanted to have a flatbed on the back so that I could put stuff there. Anyway, for the front, I used a McDonald's toy crown from like Minecraft. You know, that was out ages ago. I got given a few bits recently, and that was one of them. It's like a helmet as fries, and then the bed was going to be a battery pack that I've taken the batteries out, obviously, because I don't want no battery juices getting on my hands when I'm playing with this thing. So I just watched this to decide what to say while I did this stop motion, and realised I made a bit of a mistake. I obviously had my white balance and my lighting set to auto, and it's caused a colour correction issue. So that's why it goes from a vivid orange to a bright red. But don't worry, because now that I've learnt that that's an actual thing, I'm going to fix it so it doesn't happen again. Stay tuned for the next episode of Learning As You Go, where you watch someone who doesn't know what he's doing learn things all the time. Don't forget to like, subscribe, just press all the buttons. Okay? Sound. Now that I've completely gone off the rails and forgotten where I'm at, let's have a look at the screen and see what I am doing. So, it looks like I'm putting on some railings on the bed those, I believe, were from a mock Lego toy. You know, it's like Lego, but it's not Lego because it's easier and less fun. I've actually got a few shipping containers that are mock Lego. I might make a video where I paint graffiti and stuff on them. I do need more terrain. Now that's done, let's get started on the turret. Okay, for the turret, I wanted it to be extra big. As soon as the engine is in the main body and then you have the truck bed on the back, it has to look like someone could live inside it. So it needs to be large, but not ridiculously large. Basically, I wanted it big enough that someone could lie down inside it. So get yourself a 28mm miniature, put it sideways, and it should be the length of the actual hull of the turret. What's the hull? The body, so the bulk of the turret. The vast majority of this was used from random bits of Imperial Guard tanks that was given because I did that Taurox Prime build. Now, the Orc conversion on a Taurox Prime, which I was well happy with how it came out. But I guess people don't enjoy that stuff. Anyway, I tried my best. I think it didn't help that I just wanted to talk about Hawks the whole time. Just like getting into their lore. Did I say Hawks or Orcs then? There is a difference, isn't there? An Orc and a Hawk, obviously. I was talking about Orcs. I wasn't talking about Hawks. I'll leave it in anyway. Because I'm not sure. Because either there's something wrong with my ears or my mouth. And you get what I mean, I hope. And that's pretty much it for building the turret. Obviously I stick some EVA film on it afterwards, but for the most part it's just a giant triangle with a gun barrel on the end. Sorted. Let's get on to whatever I did next. That's it, armour. Now, because the body was so square, it meant the tracks stuck out so much that I didn't want them to look like they were too overexposed. So I wanted to put some armour that covered the tracks. I couldn't get the armour to stick directly to the body because of how squared it was and too much of a difference. So I used these little laser cut wooden triangles. Now I thought they'd be a good idea because they have like this rippling effect. It looks like they've been cut out of steel when you paint them. So I stuck those to the armour plates that I made from, I think it was just some random bases I had lying, more horsey bases. Horsey bases? That I had lying around. And then I stuck those to the body. This gave me a really good connection and meant they weren't just going to fall off, which is what would have happened if I didn't have them. Then I had to fix the turret. So what I originally did was I put a bunch of beads, stacked them, and then put the turret on top, and that spun, but it was too loose of a connection. So I decided instead to take a circle base that I had, laser cut obviously, because I got given loads of them, and they come well handy. Cut a hole in the middle, and then put a peg into the bottom of the turret that I could pop in, so I could take it on and off, easy to remove, and it spun. Make sure the hole was tight enough for it to spin around, but also maintain connection. Here's some more of me putting on armour plates, but I wanted to show you that black collar that I have just under the turret. It makes it raised. I removed that. I didn't show any footage of me taking it off. It made the turret sit just a little bit too high for me. I wanted it to be more flush, and just because it affected the profile too much. Also, it was very tall. Now I'm going to use the EVA foam. Now for the EVA foam, I used it mainly on the turret itself. See, because I wanted the main bulk of it to look like a construction vehicle that had been turned into a tank, I wanted there to be a difference between the way the turret looked and the way the tank body looked. Yeah? So I used the EVA foam to soften up the edges and make it look more cobbled together while keeping the uniformity and like rigidity of the construction vehicle, like a bulldozer type look of the actual body. So that's why I used more EVA foam on the turret itself than I did on any other part of the model. Okay, so now it's time to fill the bed. I sped this footage up just because there's so much mixing and matching and trying to find bits and put them in the right places, and all that other good stuff. Trying to restack this. Originally I wanted it to look organised, and I realised what's the point in having it organised? It's junk. Just have a look thrown on, wrap it in some chain, it'd be sound. So yeah, that's what I did. For the junk, I used like little bits of old models that I had no intention of ever using. They look cool, but I just couldn't get them to fit on anything right. So I could never make it work with what I had. And I thought I might as well make some use out of it. So you see a lot of different types of barrels that just don't fit in with my style of building, as well as leaf springs from a Tamiya truck that I've got. I want to turn the bed, I want to turn the cab of that into a mech. I've still got that, so watching. Spoilers. Anyway, okay, so that's it for the scrap for now. And time to move on to the cowcatcher. Well, I say cowcatcher. It's a dozer blade. Dozer blade? Is that right? Basically, I put this very thin piece of plastic on the front. I thought it'd do, but looking back, it was too thin. Wasn't threatening enough, and it also wasn't tall enough. It had too much of the engine exposed. It just felt like it would have left too much of an opening for attack. So what I did was I cut up a cutting mat from a kitchen, and I made it into the shape I wanted it to be. Well, I cut it into 3 pieces and connected the 3 pieces together to give it shape. I also applied some heat because I wanted to bend it, and this actually just smoothed the surface out completely, which was great. Saved me having to sand it all down, but I did burn my fingers. Shh. So be careful if you're playing with fire or using fire to help you do something. Not necessarily playing with it, but you know what I mean. So because I'd cut it into 3 pieces to bend it to the shape that I wanted, I ended up having to reinforce it all with EVA foam so that it'd stay together as it glued as well. Sanding helped, but this stuff isn't the most accepting of glue even after heat, so you've got to be careful with it. So that's why I use the EVA foam, because EVA foam loves super glue. Helps it bond to stuff that normally wouldn't bond to with super glue. I've rhymed that rhymed so much. I'm sorry. Anyway, like I said, I had to reinforce it all with EVA foam. The return of the triangle wooden pieces. Now, I needed teeth for this dozer blade. That is a little nasty. So, I got those triangle teeth. Those triangle little bits of wood and turned them into teeth on the bottom by gluing them along it. I think they look sick. Then it was time to wrap everything in some chain. And once the chain's on, it's pretty much just rivet time, ready to rumble. I did very little when it came to rivets. There's like some on the cowcatcher and a couple on the body. Nothing really major. Then I whacked out my soldering iron and I started... Always wear a mask when using a soldering iron to melt plastic. Don't forget that, it's important. Okay? And then I started making it look like everything had been cut with a torch. So the cowcatcher especially, those big chunky thick pieces of metal, I wanted to give them more of a metal look, so I literally just went down in rows and added that texture in using a soldering iron. Also did a lot of blast damage to the front and basically where I thought there'd be striking glances if it was fired upon. That's what I tried to do. I hope it comes across like that when it's painted. Okay, so now it's time to paint. Now, painting time is normally story time, which there is an element of story. I say painting time is story time, it's someone else's land. I'll tell you a story when I'm painting, because I can't be bothered talking about the painting. Unless I can be bothered talking about the painting, then you don't get a story. But you are going to get a bit of a story, and obviously I'm going to talk a bit about the painting. So nothing's changed. Before I go into any story elements, I want to talk about this orange stuff. Now this orange stuff is something I come up with. I mean, someone's probably already come up with it before. It's just, this is my first time trying it for myself. So, it's baking soda, paint and Mod Podge all mixed together. Also some pigment. I say pigment. It's a smashed up chalk, because that's all pigment is. Or pigment powder when it comes to weathering. Weathering powder. Pigment powder. Same thing. Anyway, I made a couple of mistakes when using this. I should have waited for the paint to fully dry before I put it on. Also, I made 2 batches. The first batch had baking powder, not baking soda. Now, baking powder has additives in it that make it rise faster, even when mixed in normally. So you don't want to use that. The baking soda needs to be activated for it to make the thing rise, whereas the baking powder rises regardless. Right? So, baking soda, not powder. I'd write that down because I keep forgetting. And for some reason I've got both. Okay. That was my mini meltdown. Yeah, as for not letting the model dry properly, it started to flake off. Also, once I put it on, I should have painted over the top of it again. But I didn't. And I had some flaking while I was painting. So sometimes you'll see like little pops of colour, which don't make sense. That's just the stuff that was underneath that's shown through. I have to do some touch-ups here and there when I'm using the same colours during drying times on future builds. Just is what it is. Yeah. Other than that, look at the pitting on it. Like, it's fantastic. I was so happy with how that came out. Even though obviously I had issues with it because it's the first time using it, first time trying it. I do suggest other people have a go at it as well, because the pitting effect is fantastic. So yeah, well happy with that. Obviously some disappointment, but yeah, well happy with the finished effect. Again, like I said, paint over the top of it first, then add your colour stuff, unless you want the orange shining through, but you can always add that with some, what's that, rust up easy stuff that, what's his name uses? What's it called? Miniature Hobbyist. He uses it all the time. He literally just dabs on some rust, sprinkles some water on it, and then all the rust looks fantastic. I need to get some of that, if I remember the name of it. If anyone knows the name of it, put it in the comments. Just, I forget things. What is it called? You know, it'll probably pop up later on in my head. But right now, it's time for me to tell you stuff about the vehicle as I paint it. Because, you know, it's kind of part of the fun. Okay, so I might as well talk about it then. It's Scrap Master. That's the thing. So, the name of the tank is the Scrap Master. It's made from salvage construction vehicles and parts from a particularly rough battle with flipping tanks. It's owned by this guy called Hardy John. He's a scrapper cum trader operating out of Outpost 414. I'll do more on him in an NPC build video that I am working on in the background, because I've got like 5 or 6 different characters I want to do, because I don't want to do one video as just like one NPC. I'll just do a bunch of NPCs in one video. Anyways, Scrap Master looks rough. Always has looked rough, and it was specially built just for its job. Large tracks, heavy armour, and a large bed allow it to go places most can't and collect the most juicy scrap for Hardy John. Now, to be fair, I don't have much more than that. I mean, again, I built this because I wanted to see if I could build it. I also wanted to make something super grimdark, you know, proper rough and grimy and filthy, and look like it fit in like 40k setting if I had to. Maybe an orc build, something like that. Just, I really didn't put a lot of thought into it other than knowing what I wanted it to. Is that fireworks again? If you're hearing like popping noises in the background, I think someone's been setting fireworks off outside the house. Well, not outside the house, but in the area. So I apologise if you hear any banging noises coming from the distance. It's not you going crazy, it's fireworks. Oh, I hate November. I know that wasn't much of a story. Obviously it's like loose leaf, so we can come back to it, make some changes later on when I've come up with the way I want the NPC Hardy John to look. I feel like I want him to be completely bold, you know, because it's just funny. I mean, imagine giving just a completely hairless man the name Hardy John with no explanation to it. I've written some stuff about him as well, like he likes long walks on the beach. and there's candle-lit oil baths. I don't know how this is going to play into the NPC role thing, but you know what? Just having fun with it. Anyways, I need opinions. I need points of view. I need help. Okay, so what I've been doing in the last few videos that I've posted, I know there was a big gap, like 2 months, between this video and the last video because, well, I had an accident at work, hurt my shoulder. I just haven't been up for the task of building anything, to be fair. So yeah, I needed to take some time off for myself. I did graffiti in the last video. I also did graffiti in the video before it. I've been really enjoying painting graffiti, but the thing is, I'm having a hard time coming up with ideas of what sorts of graffiti I should be using. Now, I would like your opinions on that. So if you can give me some opinions on what you think would go well in this miniature universe I've created. I've got posters as well that I need to put into a video. So I was thinking maybe if this one does alright, or even if it doesn't do alright and I get some feedback on the graffiti itself, for the next video I could probably, just because I'm trying to make my workload a bit easier, just focus solely on the painting. I've got a lot of stuff that just needs painting. Like I was talking about the mock Lego containers. They need dressing up, ready for going on a playboard, as well as I've got some more McDonald's toys that I think would make really good storage crates, and I just want to dress them up a bit, do some easy build videos, just for me, just take some pressure off, let me have some fun. You know, paint what I want to paint, but I do want opinions on like different phrases or slogans I could put on graffiti, stuff that might fit in with the world. I'm working on an alien alphabet, not going well. So if anyone has any resources that might help, stuff that I could throw in there, sprinkling a bit of like Star Wars, or even if there's like stuff that fits into 40k that's classed as graffiti but isn't in English, maybe like Tau speak, but I don't know if Tau use. Obviously orcs is like a big one, but I mean, I like orc paint jobs. Obviously you can look at the model and see that I like orc paint jobs. I mean, one of my favourite YouTubers is Scratch Passion, and that's where I get a lot of my style from, because I've seen so many of his videos, seen how he does it. I like the way it looks, so I have a tendency to go with that sort of style. Trying to make it my own, obviously, but with the orc stuff, anyway, wow, written on the side of something, fantastic, but yeah, I can't just have that. It's a lot of orc heads, skulls, you know, pictures of bullets. I could do it, but I don't want to just do that. So yeah, any help would be great. Okay, so this is me putting the wash on, which is like right before the glam shots. So don't forget to press all the buttons at the bottom of the screen. Like, subscribe, comment. I think hype is the thing now. It's been a couple months since I've been on YouTube to watch another video, and yeah, just because I had a full break, did not want to search anything, but yeah, like I said, like, subscribe, comment, give me some help me, and then enjoy the glam shots.